All right, everyone. Nvidia earnings may have just been one hurdle cleared, and we just have one more to go, or two more, depending on how you're counting with non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. Nvidia putting the punch back in the party with some pretty astounding numbers that we'll take a look at in this one. Then we'll talk about some of our favorite penny stocks that I talked about as the best penny stocks to buy now, and the sort of catalyst that we have coming up. So with this one hurdle that could be cleared, now mind you, the earnings call that we get doesn't happen until 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm recording this at 4:37 p.m. Eastern time, so still 23 minutes early beyond that. So we could see any amount of volatility between now and then, especially during these off-peak hours. But I'll tell you, so far, some of our favorite penny stock plays are absolutely loving that Nvidia put out such strong numbers and strong forward guidance, mostly in line with expectation, plus or minus 2%. So we'll show that as well. So let me put this up here for you. As a matter of fact, I will do one more thing. We'll put this up first to talk about some of the numbers that we're seeing. First of all, look at this for fiscal year 26. So always a year ahead. Now, mind you, their calendar ends in January of 26. And so that's why they have that fiscal year. So October 31st ended this fiscal quarter for Q3, so at 57%, up about, I think it was 62% over the previous quarter, and like 62% year over year, 22% over the previous quarter, my apologies, and with a margin of 73.4%. Margin compression was something that was worried about for a little bit, but they said, nah, when we get into the end of the year, we should see those margins come back up, and that's exactly what happened. Also, look at the year ago earnings of 78 cents per share, now $1.30. Absolutely incredible. As a matter of fact, when we look at their net income for this quarter was pretty much their entire revenue minus maybe 10%. So 90% of their revenue from a year ago. So absolutely incredible to see those numbers. So a lot of this stuff was expected, and it's nice that it made that expectation. Revenue guidance for Q4, or at least per the analyst estimate, was about 66 billion, and they came in at 65 plus or minus 2%. So that would still cover that 66 billion. So we'll see what sort of commentary we get from that. So those were incredible numbers to see from Nvidia, and it takes some of that nervousness off of Nvidia and off of the market for AI in terms of whether or not we happen to be in an AI bubble. Will we keep on seeing that punch happening at the party? And right now, it sounds like the AI fever is still out there, and so there's still plenty of cash and opportunity to go around. That could be the sentiment that we share. We'll know more when we see the market react further to it, especially as that earnings call happens and the market's reaction tomorrow. Remember, 8:30 a.m. tomorrow is non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate, and that is 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, an hour before the market opens. And so that could be something that pours a little bit of water on the fire, if you will, or it could be something that adds fuel to the fire. So if we get positive non-farm payrolls, mind you, I was thinking about Joel's numbers when I said below 7 million. We will definitely be below 7 million. For non-farm payrolls, we are looking for something to be above zero, and we should be in good shape. Below zero, that happens when there happens to be jobs lost rather than job openings, more jobs out there added to the payrolls. That would be something that would be very good for the markets, especially if we go north above the average estimate of 22,000 jobs added. We want to see something come in much stronger than that. That could even add more punch to the party, more fuel to the fire, if you will. And then unemployment rate, we want to see that settle, stay at that 4.3 or go below. Goes up to 4.4, and the market might be fine with it. When it starts to get to 4.5, 4.6, and when it starts to make those higher percentage jumps, that's something that can be a little bit scarier to the market. So as long as we don't get either no change at all to unemployment or very little change, 4.4 might be okay. 4.5, I think, starts to get a little bit tricky there, especially because that could be something that starts making people talk about the SOM rule. So let's get into talking about what happens if we have ourselves a positive catalyst coming up from this, and I'll put up TradingView for you. So looking at TradingView, what do we got going on here? Let's look at the Nvidia chart first, and this is the 5-minute chart that we're looking at, because you can see right at that 420 hour. Let me take down some of the technicals on here so it's just a little bit cleaner. You can see the volume pump that we got as those numbers started to be announced, and we had a nice strong movement of about 2.5% just in that 5-minute window, with volumes that look like the regular intraday volumes instead of after hours volumes. And we haven't even hit the earnings call yet. I anticipate some excitement that we might revisit that 200 number for Nvidia tomorrow. We'll have to watch and see once the earnings call comes out. I don't want to speculate too much, but bring that over to, we'll start with the SPY, then we'll get back to the Qs. When we look at the SPY, what happens right in that same 5-minute window, we get this nice strong green candle up about 0.2% and climbing from there, flirting with that 666. If you watched my morning video, you know the importance of that number because that happens to be where we find that 50 EMA and that 5 EMA. So we want to see this cross not happen. We want to see us back up on top that 50 EMA. The sooner, the better. We want to recover that one. And non-farm payrolls and unemployment can help us out or they can hurt us. Right now, Nvidia is doing what it can to really push those markets back up and keep this a low point that we see back here going back to Tuesday. So when we look at the Qs, once again, it becomes about that 50 EMA. Stretch that out. There you go. We actually had the 5 cross down over the 50. The pre-market's pushing us back. Post-at market is pushing us back up above the 50. We want to keep that price action where that blue line is up above this red line, which is that 50 EMA. And that, once again, could be very positive for us. So going to IWM, we'll drop down to the 5-minute chart because that one also had a nice little volume spike that happened right in that same 420 to 425 time frame with a little bit of whippiness in there before it settled a little bit and now pushing back up to 234, overtaking some of these intraday peaks, but nothing like we saw back here when it popped to 236. And if we go out to the daily chart, we can see what's going on there, and that's that 5 EMA that was still messing with us, that we kept getting rejected on day after day, and we want to get back up above that. Right now, that happens to be at 235 as of today's close. So we want to see if we're able to push that value with those small caps. Now, into Bitcoin, even Bitcoin reacted. Looking at Bitcoin's 5-minute chart versus the US dollar. Once again, just take a look at the volumes that we had leading up to that 5-minute time frame. Right there is when we got it. And that was about a 0.61% jump, climbing out of the depths throughout the day today. This volume confirmation on that move, really trying to push up above that 200 EMA that we have on here on this 5-minute chart. That happens to be right around 90,000. So I still think we need tomorrow's reports to really help keep this going, but this could be a nice push back up for us. Maybe we go back and revisit 93 to 96,000 on Bitcoin. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I don't want to say too much until we get the earnings call and until we get tomorrow's economic report, and then we'll have a better game plan going forward. I'm very excited for the potential here. Look at NVTS. Look at this thing popping off. Same thing, 420 to 425. This is the 5-minute chart that we're looking at here. And as soon as the Nvidia earnings dropped, boom, and NVTS standing right in line. Navitas Semiconductor to really take advantage of Nvidia being in partnership with them, or at least receiving some of the benefits of that pick and shovel movement that you will. NVTS standing in line with that. So $8.39 is what we have for this one, offering their low power, high efficiency modules that they have with their technology. And we want to see this thing push up back up over that $9 per share. Now, I've been talking about the accumulation zone that we found ourselves in, and right back over here where you see those volumes pick up and sort of sideways trading over that time as we look on this daily chart, and we kept getting rejected off the 5-day EMA. Now this is putting us back up above that to that $8 per share. We want to see this thing push back up. Hopefully we get to retest that 50 EMA. That'd be up at $9. So while this is post-market, we are getting a lot of excitement. We're going to think about what we're seeing right now in the post-market as everybody breathed in and was holding their breath, and then that downward pressure, that release coming off the markets, breathing a little bit easier, one hurdle out of the way, showing lots of strength in AI, Navitas Semiconductor, certainly in line with that. And then we go to, looks like I took down my chart on ONDS. That's okay, fellas, I'll take care of you. ONDS coming up, there we go. Once again, save 5-minute time frame, 420 to 425. We're starting to see that tick back upwards the other way. And when we look at the chart, what do we got here? I know that's a mess, but pay attention to that red rectangle that you see on here. I talked about that as that rejection. This could be, if the market really likes all of what it has to see besides just the Nvidia numbers, but also the Nvidia earnings call and also the economic reports tomorrow, this could finally break up above this resistance that we just haven't been able to overtake these past 4 days. Massive engulfing candle, just a little bit too much worry in the markets and a little bit of a risk aversion, if you will, of that holding of breath, that de-risking that happened, not want to get too involved too much before we had Nvidia's earnings. And now certainly moving back up in the post-market and putting on, it looks like about 3% or so. And then we go to RZLV. Did it also get that same treatment? It is reacting a little bit, not as much as Navitas or ONDS. Now, ONDS kind of benefits twice from something like this. One, from the relief of that market pressure, and then also government shutdown ending and the big, beautiful bill money that they stand in line to really capitalize on because they're in that defense space with their technologies. So for RZLV, once again, there's the 424.25. So it did make a jump up, but it took even more of one following that. Once again, that release of downward pressure. bigbear.ai also getting to experience that release of that downward pressure that's on here. So I wouldn't necessarily call it upward pressure yet. I would say that what we did was we took some of the weight off the market shoulders with those Nvidia numbers that we're seeing right now. So keep your eyes on Navitas Semiconductors. It can really push up higher from here if the Nvidia earnings are thought to go very well with that earnings call. Well, we know the earnings themselves went well. The guidance also looking very good. And I believe a 40% compound annual growth rate predicted through 2030. And so that could be very good. Nvidia is still going to do a lot to determine where we go. Non-farm payrolls and also the unemployment rate going to dictate a lot of that as well. We really want that information. We also want to watch, on a more minor note, but still important, the initial jobless claims numbers that we get, because there's going to be a whole lot of them, I believe, that are going to be dropped on us tomorrow, I think, as it's scheduled, as per trading economics. I can put that up there on this chart over here, economic calendar. There we go, 8:30, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, and then as we scroll down through, there we go, no time given just for whenever those initial jobless claims land on us. Usually it's at that same 8:30 hour. We'll see if we get those, and they're usually done on a weekly basis. So we actually have a few of them owed to us, if you will. And so that'll be a very telling thing to see those numbers that we get out. So guys, I got my fingers crossed on this. I'm very, very hopeful that we're going to see good numbers come out tomorrow. If they stay status quo, that's a relief of downward pressure on the markets as well. No change is good change when it comes to the jobs numbers. That's the thing that's being sweated right now. That's a lot of the reason, besides Nvidia, why we saw the market push down, some of the reason why Bitcoin also saw some of it. Now, there are still some liquidity issues that exist as well. This doesn't necessarily solve those liquidity issues, but we definitely want to keep that in mind. And that's really going to inform how we make our trades, how we set those things up. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. And Navitas Semiconductors, is it one of the best penny stocks to buy now, especially given Nvidia's earnings? Is it going to continue its rise up? Is it going to reject and just sell back down? And this is just some noise that we're seeing during the post-market hours. What about RZLV? What about ONDS? And of course, what about bigbear.ai? Because we're seeing a lot of movement. Some of that risk on, especially if Bitcoin can make its recovery. I think we got a good shot at some very, very strong movements out of those 4 penny stocks. And then what about the markets? Do they make it back up above their 50 EMA? I got my fingers crossed that we can sit on top of it as support. And like I said, tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., that's that make or break time. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And also, if you want to see more of my commentary, if you want to see more of my technicals, my buys, sells, the other panel experts buys and sells, we teamed up with StockMo. That link is down in the description for that Discord. The 3-day free trial, I believe, is still active. Try it risk-free for 3 days, and then you can check it out for about $2 a day and maybe a little bit over $2 a day after that. It's an entire ecosystem there designed to help you build alpha in your portfolio and then also provide you with support in your journey towards building financial freedom. And guys, that coursework through StockMo Academy, the courses that you can also find down in the description. You want to use code word doctor, get $400 off. It will teach you how to set up your technicals, teach you how to set up your trades using the bread recipe trading strategy. It will also teach you about options. There's a course for that as well, where you can trade either direction on the market, along with other option strategies that are out there as well. And I run some options workshops and be putting out more of those most likely throughout the month of December. And I'm pretty darn excited to get those up and running with some revamps. And I will let you know those official dates as they are ready to go. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.